Welcome to the Black Owned Business Panel. Today we're featuring restaurant owners. This is Canita from Paityn's Place, and this is Nickey from Southern Grace. And I'll be asking them a series of questions, which they'll be fielding to just talk about what it's like to run a business.
Okay, great.
So let's get started. Is it okay if I start with you and then go on to you for the question? Each question? Okay. Briefly take us through the process of taking your restaurant from an idea to reality.
Oh goodness, from idea to reality. Well, Paityn's Place Catering. We started in 2016. But initially it was more so, cooking for my family and friends and things like that for the holidays, where everybody would come and just love the food and just rant and rave. And then it was something that came up, a personal reason came up, where I had started selling dinners within the community, and it went over really, really well. I'm like, okay, for a minute it was okay, we're gonna sell dinners, see how this go. But the dinners just kept selling. And I knew that I could cook very well. Our family is from, the southern states and things like that. But I didn't know that it would really, do what it did. So I said, okay, well, let me try this thing out. So knowing how to cook, but knowing the business aspect of it were two different things. So I enrolled in Mortar Business Academy and learned the business part of it. And going through that program was great, brought a lot of exposure for Paityn's Place Catering, as far as winning a People's Choice Award and a couple other things, having, initiated with a small pop-up over the summer as a trial to just kind of get me out there. And so that initial thought of just selling dinners turned into a full-fledged catering business. We've been in business for 7 years now. And we have did a whole 300. I would have never thought that. Well, yes, I did. I seen it. I just didn't know that it would happen the way that it's happening. So that was from my imagination to reality, if that answers the question.
Okay. Thank you for your answer.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. Oh, hi. This is Dwan from Alabama too, and he's also joining our business panel today. I just asked
Canita
about the process of taking her restaurant from idea to reality, and now I'm going to turn it over to Nickey.
So I've always, cooked with my grandmother and my mom. My grandmother was a head chef for 32 years in Statesville, North Carolina, which is a small town 45 minutes from Charlotte, that kept a line every day for her food. Breaking beans with her on the weekends. I had this passion on Sundays for her food, and I was like, I really like to cook with her, right? So I kind of put it in the back of my head, moved to Cincinnati in 2014, and one morning I was journaling, and I just got this idea, talking to God, basically saying, why did you really bring me to Cincinnati? And he was like, well, what have you been doing most of your life? So I've been in the restaurant industry for over 20 years. I started as a server. I did restaurant management. I've never cooked in the restaurant before, but always liked customer service and loved critiquing food, kind of like a food expo. So I stepped out on faith. I worked 2 jobs to get my business off the ground. Started with nothing, no business loans, no grants, nothing. Many days, going back and forth to both jobs, crying, exhausted. So I went through Mortar Cincinnati and learned the business aspect as well, and GCMI to gain some more knowledge about the business, and built a team. And then I got a couple of mentors, and that just led to the full service catering business.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Dwan, can you tell us about how your process was from taking your restaurant from being an idea to reality?
Well, I never wanted to own a restaurant, really, but it kind of just happened. being where I'm from, the youngest of 9 kids, you know, when I got about 8 years old, when I found out what I was really eating, and it's time me to start making my own food. So I don't like game, you know, but I'm from down south, and they eat possum, coon, they eat everything. And I wasn't with that. So we started off making, you know, rice-a-roni and hamburger helper, and it went from there. But I worked at the fire department, so what happened with me is that so I know how to cook myself, and I found out that I could cook to get out of doing some of the cleaning. So instead of me, you know, scrubbing floors and all that stuff, you know, they found out how to cook. So I just get the keys to the expedition and go to the grocery store. So when I used to cook, you know, people, wives and stuff came to the job. You know, when firefighters eat, the spouses come to the firehouse while you eat it. And normally, if it's 10 people, you go spend $100. You just get $10 a piece. That's how when you see firemen at the store, that's what they do. They, you know, it's like 3 different work days, so everybody got their own refrigerator, their own cabinet. You know, so when they buy stuff, they can. So when people, wives, come to the job and they find out how to cook, they were like, oh, "Could you do a baby shower for me?" So I did a baby shower, and I got a couple of gigs from that, and that's how it's just word of mouth catering. I didn't really was interested in, you know, doing a restaurant thing, but then at the firehouse, you know, you work 15 years, then you get retired. So I worked like 12 years and like a month, and I bought my military time so I could retire early, and I just started doing it on the weekend. But my first thing is that, you know, like you said, when you ain't got no money, I had some at the time, but so if I open up on the west side, like the biggest the biggest like thing that a restaurant owner has to deal with is that in order to get a good location, you got to spend a lot of money. And sometimes people don't realize when you get these locations, you spending $7,000-8,000 a month, and you haven't, you know, established yourself. And it's just that. I mean, and you know, you got $3,000 a month, and you know, Duke bills. You got so it's kind of hard to succeed if you spend a lot of money for like a lease. And when I opened on the west side, I was lucky because I know how to rehab houses. So I bought a little building over there just to learn the ropes. But my first 4 years, I didn't make any money because of the location. You just got to figure out what you're gonna do and just stay in your lane. You can't do everything. You just figure out what you will and will not do. And like the main thing is that what I failed at as a new business is trying to get all the money. You can't try to get all the money because you'll spend too much time trying to price out or catering for somebody, and then you got to go to the store and research what you don't want to charge too much, but you don't want to charge too less. So I spent a lot of time doing this. So then I decided I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do. And somebody wants something else, I just send them somewhere else. Like it ain't. Sometimes it ain't worth your time for iffy money. So.
Thank you. And it sounds like you've already answered question 2 as well, which is, have you faced any barriers or setbacks while starting or running your business? Were there any other setbacks you would like to talk about as well? Yeah,
there been setbacks. I mean, I didn't open up before on the west side. Then when the west side is like, that's like a whole nother city, west side of Cincinnati. So I remember one time I got up at 4:30 in the morning and started smoking at 5:30 and stay open to 3 o'clock in the morning. I made $47. So, but the thing about it, like I say, Cincinnati is a different place. It's very, 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 very different here. So on the west side, I kind of formulated that people from Cincinnati don't deviate too much. And people from here only pretty much eat 5 things. That's chicken wings and fries, white and fish and fries, pork chops and fries, Mex, and that disgusting running water with chili. That's pretty much it. So if you ain't selling that, you can't make no money. So when I decided to move my shop to Clifton, I ain't worried about everybody else. I'm just worried about the people who want barbecue for that day. You can't make a whole bunch of stuff. Then when people come in asking for stuff that you really don't make, I mean, I like black eyed peas, but the black eyed peas is not something you make with like barbecue. You got to figure out what you're gonna do, and you can't try to. Then you got to cook different I cook different in my business to where I would cook it for myself, because you got to kind of make it so it kind of appealing to everybody. You know what I mean? Like a lot of young people don't like onions and garlic, but I prefer that. But I had to back that back down. Or you got to. A lot of people don't know what fresh ingredients. Like you don't know how to cook, but if your stuff is fresh, it's kind of different. Like one business that I can think of for one ingredient, like say Chipotle. People go there because of cilantro. But if people thought about the Taco Bell where they put cilantro in their food, it's like a simple solution. It was like triple in sales just by adding cilantro to their food. But they don't put it in there. That's crazy, ain't it? I hope I didn't talk too much.
I don't know what to say now. No, I'm just waiting. No, you're good. You're good.
What about you, Canita? What barriers or setbacks did you face while starting your business and running it?
So, and I don't really want to say a setback. I don't really feel like I've had any setbacks in the 7 years. I feel like every experience was an experience that I was supposed to experience, if that makes sense. Initially starting off, I was at the point like you chase like every client, like, okay, can we book? Yeah, can you book? To the point where I started realizing like I have quality stuff, quality food, quality service, and my price have to mimic that. And, I like him, I say, everybody's not my customer, and I'm okay with that. My price is my price because I know what I put out. I thought that, during COVID, it would be a little difficult, because a lot of our corporate clients were shutting down. They were not having the big meetings and things that they were having before to book. I'm like, oh God, what we gonna do? But for me, I've been a registered nurse for 16 years, so I still had something to go to and still make money. However, even though I'm doing that, my business is very much almost like full-time work for me. So it's like trying to do both, but I still had something. So I said, okay, how can I be creative? We're already in, 5 years or, 4 or 5 years in our business. It's doing great. How can we keep it going? How do we not lose our customer base? So we came up with private dining experiences. So we can't come to your business to bring you food, but we can come to your house. Nobody was able to really come out and dine because restaurants were closed, and it just was very isolated. So what we did was create experience. Husband and wives wanted to still go and have date night. So what we would do, I would talk to the husband or wife, figure out the menu. I would go set up the scene at their home, like the table, the nice plates and glasses, wine, whatever it was they wanted, fix their meal. They mate come in and surprise and wow, and that went over really well. Or family meals, or people who are cooking, working all week long and really just don't have the time or want to cook or want something different. That went off really well. So I felt like the challenge was just trying to figure out, because it was scarce at that time. How can I keep my customer base without losing so many because of this pause in the world? I feel like that's where it was just like, oh. But I'm like very faith driven. God give me stuff to just keep it going. On days I feel like, oh God, like I really want to do this. He give me, yes, you want to do it, get up, let's go, keep going. There is no stop, So, I'm building this for my family, the legacy of my family. So, yeah.
Thank you. And what about you, Nickey? Did you face any barriers or setbacks while starting or running your business?
I did. The major one was not understanding food cost. Going to Kroger, going to the local grocery store versus buying it in bulk has a major, effect on your food cost. That's just something I didn't know, and I did that for almost 2 years. And I think if I would have known that in the beginning, it would have helped me and, be more successful as far as my numbers were concerned and my revenue.
Okay. And since Canita mentioned how her business was affected by the pandemic. Could you also tell me how yours was affected and how you adjusted?
Yeah, so it wasn't really affected. We actually did more in the pandemic than we did the year before because we did curbside service out of Findlay. So people appreciate getting a hot meal. You know, it's still home cooked. They, like Canita said, they couldn't go out to the restaurant. So just giving people that option. I did tap into some meal prepping as well. I had a client that weighed close to 270, and by the year was up, she was like down to like 120. So
That's great.
I didn't even know anything about meal prep. Like, the pandemic changed all of that. The way your mindset was before the pandemic, you just had to, you know, pivot and come up with new services.
Piggyback off of Nickey, like we did the pop-ups too, where they would pre-order their meal and they come. That actually did really go over well. And then even with, you know, food costs, I mean, it is when you really don't know and you not really putting in perspective how much those eggs cost or that flour costs, that's where your price points come in. And, you know, now it's like, ooh. So, and buying in bulk, that's still a challenge for me because I cook with what I cook with the same ingredients. Where if you go in bulk, it's like trying to figure out what ingredient is going to work to give off that same taste. So for me, that's still a challenge, like buying in bulk for like some of these distribution companies. Like, what do I purchase to make it taste the same? So.
Okay, thank you. And what about you, Dwan? Did you have any ways that your business was affected by the pandemic or ways that you had to adapt?
Pandemic was the best thing ever happened to me.
Okay.
Yeah, because I'm just glad it didn't get to the point that it got to. I just couldn't imagine being a barber. How you gonna tell somebody that you can't provide for your family? I understand the pandemic when something happened, but the police had to came in my store to tell me to lock my door. I said I wasn't gonna close because I got bills. You think about people who do hair and people who do tattoos. They told them people you self-employed. You ain't no unemployment. Right. How you just gonna tell somebody you can't? How you can do that? So and then the pandemic changed everything. So what like when you said food costs, when you rent a restaurant, you just want to put your stamp on every single thing, but you can't. You can't do it all. So it just the best thing I had to come to realization is you can find something that's already made that is close to what you do. That was the hardest thing for me to change. It's like when you first start off, you wanna. I'm talking about you doing it all. I'm talking about like you can't do that. But what I'm saying is that as being African American, it's like a rite of passage to watch your mom make macaroni and cheese. And when I say when a rite of passage is that they getting the block out, they getting the grater, and they grading. They want to grade it themselves. But you making, sometimes 20 whole pans of mac and cheese on a day. I ain't finna do that. I'm making myself out. I'm just saying. And then and the pandemic changed stuff because when you buy stuff, because when you're in a restaurant, you got to have everything got to be situated to where you wanted it. So you design your shelves to fit this box, and this to fit this, and that to fit that. And when you go to buy something, they out. So then it's the pandemic. Every restaurant owner during the pandemic spent 15 hours a week trying to find product. Cause you got to go to this store, they ain't got it. You got to go to this one, they ain't got it. Then you get shipments. You try to get the people to bring your stuff and drop it off, and you order, $2,000 worth of stuff, and $800 worth of stuff comes. Then you go out and find it. Then you got to figure out, because some stuff you can't buy in bulk. Like I don't really sell anything like a lot of produce because it went to waste. I mean, even though you might, save a lot of money by buying, a case of tomatoes, but sometimes you might have just buy just a couple because if you buy a bulk, you know, you're getting cheaper, then you gotta, you're throwing away like 40% of it. So it's just like, then with something you got to, before pandemic, you could hire a dishwasher for $12 an hour. Now you gotta give them 17 bucks to just show up. So it's just, then proteins, you know, it's went up triple the price, but you can't triple the price of what you're selling it for. You know what I mean? And then, but the main thing when you, like, success begins when you realize you can't make everybody happy. Because some people, they walk in the door, you already at a disadvantage because they want to compare how they make something to what you do. But if you're making a dish for 4 people, yeah, you can put the effort into it, but you can't be making a whole bunch of stuff. You got to get it done. So you deal with something every day. So.
Thank you. Okay, my next question, I'll start with you, Canita. How did you raise the funding for your business?
Just working. Literally, I have just been saving since the first day of the 7th year. You know, for the first, I would probably say maybe for the first 5 years, I didn't pay myself. I just stacked money because literally just stacked it. I'm not going to even say I used it from my day job, but just from the catering jobs that we had, just kept constantly just pouring in and not pulling out from it. And I've definitely seen a great return, but as far as like loans and things like that, I didn't do any of those things. As far as like during the pandemic, the PPP, I was so nervous about that. Like, oh my God, I'll apply and it'll come back. And even though I was a whole legit business, I just didn't want to until I realized, like, girl, what's wrong with you? Like, you really need to. So I applied and they did give something, but we just been saving, just trying to figure out, what's next and what we want to do. And so when that time comes, we'll at least be able to have something to put up for it. So, so not paying myself for almost, like 5 or 6 years. And again, I was okay with that because I have a daytime job. For others, it may be a little bit different because you have to pay yourself to sustain and, do things like that. And eventually we'll be going in that direction. So just saving and not paying myself for 5 years from the business. I know. Just end of the year stipend or something, go pay for a trip or something like that. That was me paying myself because that's what I enjoy, vacation. But to really, really pay myself, I didn't because I see the big picture at the end. So that's what I'm working towards. So.
What about you, Nickey?
Very similar. Our stories, I didn't know how much they're almost the same.
Right?
I still work full time. I still run my business full time. I just got my first loan this year going into our new space. So with that being said, I'm like, how can I pay this off like yesterday? I've always ran like a lean company. When I create my menu items and my seasonal menu, I'm always looking at what can I use for something else. Like if I use the same roux for our like breakfast casserole, I can use it for my mac. I can do it for like our Cajun pasta. I might have to, tweak it a little bit. But I'm always trying to like watch my numbers. But yeah, I've always worked 2 jobs with this and just paid myself last year for the first time. And my accountant's still like, you can pay yourself more. And I'm like, I would rather see it go back into business. And I think in the beginning, that's a good mindset to, have because you see the money coming in. It's so easy to say, well, I'm just going to buy me a new car or I'm going to buy this new Louis purse. And I'm like, no, like when you have an end goal and an ultimate dream, you just want to save it to get there. So.
What about you, Dwan? How did you raise funding for your business?
Well, I'm just a natural born hustler. So I like analyzing everything, and I figure out what I need to do to get over. So actually, the money is fairly easy if you discipline. So it's fairly easy for me. I used to didn't pay myself, but I pay myself now all the time. So
I'm transitioning.
So what I do is I pretty much take. It's harder if you was like with a company, but when you yourself, you got to know what to do. I'm not gonna turn that over to nobody else unless I know how to do it. I'm not gonna depend on nobody to do something. So I pay myself $1,000 a week. So I had to go in directly. It cost me $1,600 a day to open the door. That's how much it costs. $1,600 a day for me to open my door for money. So I need to make like $2,400 to make money for that. So $1,600 break even, and then when I make $2,400, the $800 I put $100 towards like utilities, $100 for like rainy day fund, and I try to give myself $300 for the pot. Then at the end of the month, then I determine what I need to do. If I got money left over, I need to buy stuff or whatever. But the easy way to do the money is that you get a lot of companies calling trying to get your business all the time. So the easy way to get money that I found out what to do is that you got to deal with small banks, not big banks. You got to make sure they know you. So the first thing to do is get a secure loan. So you got to apply for that, and you just put $1,000 in the bank. Then get a line of credit for that $1,000. So you take the $1,000, you put $1,000 in the bank, you get a secure line of credit for $1,000, and take that $1,000 and put it in your account. Then you tell the people at the bank, say, okay, over the next 3 months, I want you to take and send $350 from this account directly back to the account you owe. So in 4 months you pay that off. Then you go back after that and say, I want another loan for $5,000. You stay with $5,000. You got that $5,000 account, then they'll match the 5. Then over the next 6 months, you take $700. So you don't even touch the money, and you just keep doing that. So now the bank I deal with, I got a secure loan for $250,000. So if I want some, I just call them, hey, I need this. Then another thing I did was with Square. I don't know what kind of processing thing you use. I don't even like fill out an application for a job. I don't like fill out no paperwork. So like with Square, if they know you're doing business with them, they might offer you a loan for when they first start off like $1,000. And what they do is they don't set no parameter when you got to pay it back. They might just take 15% of whatever you make over each day. So if you ain't open, they don't ask for no money. But if you open, they take a little bit. So I did it for like $1,000, and I did it for like $5. I did it for $10. I did it for $20. And I did it for $50. That way you have to. If you make a little money, they just take a little bit. So that's how I was able to but I own my location. So when I bought my location, I was spending $5,000 a month for the space. But then when I got a mortgage on it, it was $1,200 a month. But I continued to just pay the same $5. So I turned a 25-year mortgage. I paid off in 6. So but I pay myself to. When I say pay myself, I pay myself enough to cover, no matter what. I'm gonna pay myself enough to cover my mortgage at my house and my utility bill at my house. That's a must. All those stuff is want. That cable, all that ain't necessary. So my wife handled that. But you gotta pay yourself. You can't work for free. You gotta pay yourself. That's the whole purpose of doing it.
It's a matter of how do you pay yourself.
You give yourself a percentage.
Otherwise, what's the percentage? That's what I'm working on.
No,
I'm serious.
Just set a really just set a number.
Okay.
So when I say set a number. Everybody got all these QuickBooks and all this stuff here. You got to set up an account. So money to come out your main account, just go into a whole different bank account. It's not even.
Okay.
It can be. You can have it set up in your thing for rainy day fund. whatever. I'm just saying, if your lease, whatever you leasing your place at, if it's $3,500 a month, you do that $3,500, and then you allot it like another $500 a month to go. Just apply it towards that, but use it for something else. So you'll be sitting there when you need it.
Thank you.
It ain't called cheating. You got to figure out a way to beat the system. You just got to.
Well, we have time for 2 more questions. I'm going to ask a fun one now. Canita, what's your favorite restaurant to visit if you're going out to eat in Cincinnati?
Oh my God, Ruth Chris. It's my absolute favorite. I love Ruth Chris. Yeah, that's where I love it for, the steak is always good, but the service has always been amazing. And service for me is great. If you can provide great service and the food is just mediocre, I think you probably won me over just because of the service and being attentive to me, my family, or friends or whatever, or knowing every time we go to Ruth Chris, we would get the same waiter. And he would know exactly what it was we wanted to drink, kind of how we wanted to order. And I just feel like that was just awesome until he's not there anymore. But Ruth Chris is one of my favorites. Mm-hmm.
What about you, Nickey?
I like Papados.
Papados?
What was it?
Papados.
I think I was there once. Pretty good. Yeah. What about you, Dwan?
I like Ambar,
Amber?
the Indian
Oh,
restaurant
Indian, okay.
on Ludlow. That's another thing I do too. In my store, like some people don't like eating stuff they're not familiar with, so I find out what the other cultures eat, and I order what they order. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you go to Indian restaurant, like Indian people, like chicken tikka masala is what they get. That's what they eat. Chicken tikka masala to Indian person is just like us eat fried chicken, macaroni, cheese, and green. That's what they eat. But I prefer Mexican food though. I like Acapulco too.
Yeah, Mexican is
And
my
that's
favorite.
the only thing bad about myself. I'm a very, very, very frugal person.
Oh, are you?
I just can't spend money on stuff that I would never go to Ruth Chris.
Oh, see, I can spend money on the good meal and experience.
No, I'm just saying.
Don't you take me to
no, I ain't taking it away from that. I just couldn't do it.
Oh, yes.
I just. My wife do. I don't know.
I'm a foodie. I like to try different stuff.
Me too.
Just try it one time.
I just can't see myself spending that much money for stuff.
Think about it.
With me, I got the raw. I like raw Peter to pay Paul. You know what I mean? So like my daughter spend $8 a day on Starbucks. I just can't do that.
Okay, well, my final question is, what advice would you give to someone who is looking to start their own restaurant in Cincinnati? I'll start with you, Dwan.
Well, people want to own their own restaurant, do their own thing. They think you just open something up and just think you're gonna make money. You gotta be there. So if you think you're just gonna make money, you in root for a rude awakening. You gotta be there, and you got to be there. And then it just, like I said, when you first start out, it's just hard to, because you want. It's something you just can't. It's just hard to. No matter who you are, it's hard to please your own people. Like if you're an Italian person, a real authentic Italian person will come in and they won't know it's a pasta handmade. You know what I mean? It's just different. You know what I'm saying? Or like I get offended when people come to my store and ask us to barbecue. Is it baked in the oven? I just sell barbecue. I don't sell fried chicken. I don't sell that. And the rough, some people think it's okay, but Sunday money I don't want. It ain't even worth it. Some people, you can make a lot of money on Sunday, but it's not worth the negative from it. So I'm open on Sunday because I don't want the church crowd. Because people come in your establishment and complain and say the ice ain't cold enough. But that's the day that foodies come out to eat on Sunday. But I did that and it just wasn't even. It just ain't worth it. But when sometimes you gotta realize, money ain't everything. So money ain't not everything to me no more, because I don't have to work anymore. That's like the best thing about everything now. I don't have to work anymore. And that's like a blessing when you wake up in the morning knowing that you don't have to work anymore for the rest of your life. This is like the best feeling in the world. Yeah, that's a good feeling knowing you have to work no more. It's a blessing.
Thank you. Well, what about you, Canita?
I think for me, because we're full service catering, not necessarily, we don't have a brick and mortar yet, which is, we don't, because I don't know that I want to give up 24 hours and also leave my career. Hard choice, but advice I would give is to know that everybody have their own customer, that you are only in competition with yourself, so don't be intimidated by all the other people that may be doing the same exact thing that you're doing. Even though you're doing the same thing, it's something different about you. Figure out what makes you stand out. And then just, if you believe in any power, just having faith and knowing that, just be guided by faith, and just pray, because this thing is not easy. It's a lot of times where you can easily say, it's easy to say, okay, I ain't about to do this no more, with one bad review or one bad, whatever. Oh, I ain't bad. It's a tough world. Food is a tough world. And once you win your people over, you got them, which is great. But just being the face, delivering excellent customer service, just actually putting in the time. But the biggest thing I can say, just because food is so big here in Cincinnati, is knowing that you are your own competition, and just stay focused on what you're doing and how you're doing it, and everything else will fall in place. So.
Thank you. And Nickey, what about you?
I got two things. One, I would suggest either going through an incubator like Mortar Academy or either GCMI, so you can learn the why behind your passion. Both of those two networks will help you define your actual business model and put it on a canvas. The second one, what I would say, is get a mentor. Get a mentor that's been doing it for a minute, someone that you can trust, that's going to give you sound advice, give you wisdom on questions that you may have, and just making sure that person don't have a jealous spirit behind them, that they really have your best heart and interests. So those are my two.
I think mentorship is great. Getting under somebody that don't, like Nickey said, that don't mind sharing information without being intimidated by what you're doing or what you're bringing. Mentorship is great. I feel like now I do a lot of mentoring. Do you feel like you mentor quite a bit now? Do you? Yeah, because you mentoring me now. So yeah, mentorship is great. I'm learning from you, Alabama Q.
So I got two new
Employees.
ventures I'm going to. Is that so now I'm about to go to school well, I know how to do it. I just get it legally legitimate to doing it, because I want to show business owner how, not saying to hide money. I want to show people how to write everything off. But I have nothing at all in my name.
Sign me up.
I have nothing in my name. So when I buy new cars, it's in the business name. When I put gas in my car, I don't write down mileage. I just got a card for that. And when I buy everything, I buy with my American Express. So I can get miles. So when I go on vacation, my plane tickets are free. So I'm like round up like 2 million miles, and I can get a first class round trip ticket to LA for $11. So it just, you got to find ways of like showing people what they need to do to write stuff off. Because people don't know. Because my accounting, I do all my stuff myself. I just give him a piece of paper and he just put the numbers in. But I don't know how to do the taxes. So when I do that, I want to be able to pass on those what I self-learned information. Can't nobody take it away from me. So I want to do that so I can be able to show other people what they need to do. I'm not saying hide money. I just want to show people how to write stuff off. I write everything off. So when you get new fancy cars, you don't, even though you're driving it, it's your car, but It's a business expense. So that's what people need to understand. You gotta be able to write everything off. So that's why when you can bring your prices down, or it look like you're not making a lot of money because you're spending it. So just use it to just write it off. So that's my next goal.
Makes sense. Well, Dwan, Canita, and Nickey, thank you so much for
No problem.
coming here today and sharing this awesome information. We really appreciate having you.
You're welcome.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
And now it's time for some tasty samples.
Uh,
Chill.